Hello everyone. We're going to talk about today why I joined the Army. So, first to start, I want to explain. I was unhappy. Not just unhappy, I was miserable and I hated my childhood. I was in constant fear. Always sad and looking for a way out. You see, I dealt with a lot of narcissistic abuse, along with that, plenty of drugs and alcohol. As a young child, I learned how to take a cigarette and smother it out in the ashtray because my mother would do a bunch of pills and light up a cigarette while laying on the couch watching TV and pass out with the cigarette hanging out of her mouth lit. So I remember quite a few times I would have to take that cigarette and put it out so the house didn't burn down. And close calls would happen because there was a constant reminder that there were wood burns on the floor from all the cigarettes that could have ignited but smothered themselves out. My brother would beat me so bad that I would end up calling the police. 911 was a frequent number I called as a kid. I don't want to say too many negative things about my father. He was a rock, but he didn't come without his faults either. He was a heavy drinker. Crashed our family van, wrapped it around a telephone pole. Then there was one instance where he wanted to take us to work, and 10-year-old me was in the back seat with him swerving everywhere because he drank about 2 boxes of wine or more. And as a 10-year-old, I had to take him and put him in his bed. Stop him from going places, drinking and driving. Whenever I grew up, I usually only ever ate one meal that was nutritious, and I would pig out and snack a lot, so I got pretty heavy as a kid. Sometimes, dinner wasn't made, so I usually had one meal a day, and I always did have a meal a day, whether it was leftovers or a meal, but then there was a time my mother got into a depressive episode and just stopped cooking and stopped doing laundry. I remember I would go to school smelling like I didn't do laundry. And I asked her to show me how to do laundry and she said no. And I learned this years later, that that's part of abuse and control. She wanted to have that type of control over me for some reason. It was bad. My mother was a habitual liar and a manipulator. And my brother no different. He takes after her quite a lot. I would lie to her a lot. She manipulated me into believing that I had autism spectrum disorder or ASD. And would constantly remind me of it while staring at me and smiling like a lunatic. She would stare at me for what felt like hours with that lunatic smile. And then when I visibly got uncomfortable, she'd laugh and move on about her day. This was normal. This happened sometimes 7 days a week, sometimes once or twice a week. Sometimes there'd be a break, but it was a constant enough to where this was normal for me. As a 10 or 8-year-old, my brother would beat me bad, and I'd stand up for myself, do what I needed. My mother would tell me somehow it was my fault, and I said the wrong thing because he has these emotional problems, and that's why it justified him coming after me. My father would step in and defend that and say, no, he attacked him, but he wasn't always around. So, lots of gaslighting, lots of manipulation. I would show my needs. I would talk to my mother. My dad did this too sometimes, but this was normal for my mother, so I definitely relied more on my dad. I would say, hey, this is what I need. As a young kid, just expressing my needs, whether it was emotional validation or something. They would, if I said, hey, I'm hungry, they'd feed me food, but when I needed help, like I needed a rock to talk to, my mother would just stare at the wall and pretend I didn't exist, to a point where I'm like getting aggressive. And that was the only way I got my point across. Like, she would be upset if I asked for a new pair of shoes, so I would wear the same shoes till they were falling apart, and then I would tape them. And then she'd finally buy me some. Meanwhile, my other brother would get belligerent, so he had a collection of shoes. So that should show you the difference between me and my brother when we were growing up. As an example. If a new movie would come out, my mother would watch it. And I found out through my other two brothers, that she did this to all of us. She would watch the movie and spoil it. So I grew up with movies, and when everyone would talk about the shock of the reveal of this character doing this, I would go, what the fuck are you guys talking about? I didn't know that she was robbing me of that joy, because she would also always snicker when she did it, and just smile and direct eye contact about that, spoil the movie, haha, I got you type thing. So I grew up, I never enjoyed movies the way other people did. I wanted to learn how to take care of myself so that I could feel safe. Because in my mind, I couldn't rely on my caregiver. So I wanted to be independent. That's what I wanted. So I looked to my heroes. And that was Call of Duty 3. The first game Treyarch made in 2006. I became fascinated with the game. Video games helped me escape a lot of shit from my childhood. The PS2 and the Xbox were they were my comfort zone, and I loved it. And I would play these games, and then I would get into them. So then I started watching World War II documentaries on the History Channel. So when I was 10, well, most kids were watching Ben 10 or Danny Phantom, which I did too. I would go, cool, cartoon's over, let's get the History Channel on, and I would watch stuff like the Battle of the Bulge, Normandy, and I'd watch all the movies, Saving Private Ryan, and then the 60s movies as well, like The Dirty Dozen, and all those World War II movies that have fascinated me. British SOE, I loved World War II. And I remember just thinking, these guys are maniacs. They don't need anyone to take care of them. They take care of business themselves. And that did it for me. I wanted to be like them. I wanted to do what they were doing. I wanted to be something because I didn't know, I wasn't anything in my mind, and I wanted to be something heroic, something that I admired. I wanted to be like those guys that I saw on the TV. As time went on, I began talking more. I found out I have a lot of military history in my family. My grandfather was a drill sergeant in the mid-1950s. He was in the Army Reserve and Army National Guard. My other grandfather was a World War II veteran with the Army Air Corps, now the Air Force. He went to Europe VE Day and then went over to Japan, to the Philippines, during the end of World War II after VE Day. And then my great-grandfathers were both World War I veterans. So I'm watching these guys on TV that I admired. I'm like, wow, look. Audie Murphy, I saw that movie. Band of Brothers, I was obsessed with Band of Brothers. I love that movie, that TV series, and I'm like, these guys aren't afraid of anything, they get it done. And then I realized my relatives, my grandfather, once I found out when my grandfather was still alive, I would go up to him and just ask him about the Army. And then I began to ask more about my other grandfather. My other grandfather, who fought in World War II, died before I was born, so I never got to meet him. But these men I emulated, and I'm related to them. And I realized that if my grandfather and my great-grandfathers can do it, well, so can I. There was one problem, though. While other families get supported, maybe some parents don't like their children joining the military for obvious reasons. It's risky. They would still support them in a way. Well, my mother had a habit of causing passive-aggressive chaos. when she didn't like something, she'd do something to cause some type of chaos in the house to where we're on edge. I was always locked in my room with the lights off, playing video games, listening to music loud as fuck, just trying to push away this reality that I was living in, because it was a fucking nightmare. Right before I was graduating high school, I'd already signed up for the Army. I was in the late entrance program. My dad started drinking heavily. He was kind of forced into retirement early, and he was sad about that. And then my mother was getting in his head. She was purposefully pushing him to drink more so that he would get so fucked up every day. I remember at this time, my dad was drinking a fifth of vodka and 2 or 3 natty daddies a day. If he wasn't doing that, he was drinking some type of equivalent to get himself there. So he was driving drunk to the store. So my senior year, I was dealing with that, stopping my dad from driving drunk to the store. God, getting a text message, hey, your father's passed out in the Little League field, go pick him up and drag him home. So I had to drag my drunk father home. And one might say I might resent my dad for that. I really don't. I blame her. He had a drinking problem, but I wasn't dumb. I would sit and observe. That's why a lot of people don't understand why I can be so quiet. Because I would see everything she did, and that's when I really was like, this woman's out of her fucking mind. Like my eldest brother told me, I raised myself. And she just made it harder for me, and it was difficult. But what helped me with that was it drove me further. This went from something I wanted to do in my mind at that time to something I had to do. Because this isn't the life I want to live. I don't want to be with miserable people who complain all the time. Like, my mother's venting to me about stuff as an 8 and 10-year-old. Like, I don't know how to help you. I didn't want to be with people who had money, who had opportunities, and just wanted to be miserable. I wanted to do something great. I wanted to be part of history. I wanted to do something like the heroes I watched on TV or played in a video game. I was gonna get that, and I was willing to do anything to get it. That's why when I left the military, it really hurt me, because I loved the Army. It gave me something to be proud of. And, well, I'll be honest, I didn't have a good attitude at times. I complained at times when I should have appreciated things. But you don't truly appreciate something till it's gone, and I've learned that the hard way. Listen, guys, humble yourself before you get humbled. I had to get humbled, and, I don't want to see that happen to you. I miss the Army, but at the same time, God's will is God's will. I'm starting to realize I think all this was meant to happen, as sick as it is, but like in the book of Job, God will only put you through what he knows you can handle. So whatever you're going through in life, understand God knows your strength and knows you can handle it. And that changed my whole perception when I learned that. I don't need to be in the military to be a man. I was in the process of joining the National Guard, and then I stopped it. Yes, you can get kicked out and get back in the military. Active duty was probably going to be like, nah, son, but the Guard was working with me. I stopped it. I said I don't want to do it. And I'll tell you why. I mentioned this in a couple other videos. The civilian world is an unforgiving and lonely place. You are alone in this civilian world. In the military, even if you're alone with company. Not like that in the civilian world. You are on your own. You need to make your own money. You need to pay for your insurance, your health, your dental, your vision. You need to pay for all that. And your food, your clothes, you got to take care of that. You don't have a team leader who's experienced these things to help you, or if he doesn't know something, he's got a leader above him and above him and above him to help you with that. You're on your own. And a lot of us that get out run straight back to the military, because not only do our plans may not work out for those who are getting out and they make a plan, but they realize how good they had it in the military with what they provide. But that's not reality. That's not how civilians live. And I realized if I want to present myself as something, I don't know what that is, I have to have the strength to do it on my own. If I can't get up and make my own bed, why should people listen to me? I have to do this alone, because come hell or high water, I'm going to go back in the military. Whether that's 4 years from when I got out, 10 years from when I got out, I don't care. I'm going back in. But I'm not doing it right away. I have to learn how to survive out here. And I'm doing very well, all right? But it's scary. I don't have anything to fall back on. So what I have, if it fails, I could end up on the streets. I was almost homeless when I got out of the Army. But I made it. And to have that comfort of people around you, a unit taking care of you, you don't realize what that is until it's gone. You don't. And let's say I get back in the military and I get some shitbag leadership like I had when I got out. They're not going to dangle the Army over my head. I'm not going to get so upset that I try to unalive myself, because I will have the skills to survive out here. Just like I had to develop the skills to survive my childhood. I'm still a soldier. You're a soldier for life if you didn't know that. It doesn't leave you. I didn't like how I got out, but I can't control that right now. But what I can control is my attitude. I am okay. And I'm going to press on. I've fought demons in my mind that I didn't know I could defeat, but I did it. And now it's just the start of something even better coming. I'm making my own way, my way. I'm in control, and that's another thing. Now that I'm out, I gotta look at the bright side of things. I'm in control. I couldn't control what happened to me in the Army. I could have controlled some things even better too, like some poor decisions I made. But had I not got thrown out and had this time to think, reconcile, grow as a civilian, I would have never learned it. Things happen for a reason. So, I'm gonna get the job done, whatever it is. I'm gonna find myself. And if I don't find myself, I'm just gonna keep moving. I'm a nomad. But if you're going through what I went through, you're gonna be okay. And no matter how hard your day gets, remember why you signed up. Whenever I had a hard day, I remembered that scared little kid who wanted someone to save him. But you know what? No one's gonna save you. No one's gonna save me right now. No one was gonna save me alone. It's up to you. And I wish I learned that while I was still in. Maybe I'd still be in now. But it's okay. So whoever you are watching this, it's up to you. And it's not as hard as you think it is. Thank you guys for watching. More to come. Subscribe.